David Lombardi from The Athletic. Been at every single practice, every single game. Obviously, we're going to talk Trey. We're going to talk Sam Darnold. We're going to talk about Brock Purdy. But the first question I have as we bring in David Lombardi onto the Morning Roast here at 95.7 The Game, first question I have for David is, do you still carry a wallet? David, I'm sure you didn't expect that, but do you still carry a wallet?
Well, why do you ask? Because some people, I guess, have their wallets on their phones.
That's me. That's me,
why.
David.
That's why.
I'm new school.
Right.
I'm not old school. I don't have a Gucci wallet. I have a straight-up phone setup where I've got my ID in the back of it with a little, whatever this is, a Kaiser card, one credit card, and then the key card to get into the station. That's it. I've stripped my life down.
So your phone is your wallet. So technically you do carry a wallet. It's just your phone now.
Yeah, but not a separate wallet, if you get what I'm saying. But yes, my phone is my wallet.
I'm old school. I do carry a wallet, and I also have a watch, like an old school watch, like a nice watch. I don't use it to check the time though. It's like more of a fashion statement. So I almost feel like the wallet's like a little fashion accessory. As men, we can accessorize our fashion in little minute ways. They go a long way. So that's the way I look at a wallet.
That's Stafford education,
I was just gonna say.
David, you're probably too smart for the show. But our poll question right now is: do you still carry a wallet? 83% of the people of the vote so far in our YouTube poll question say they still carry a wallet.
I guess
I'm still one of those guys who carry. I gotta have the wallet.
I guess
David.
I'm old school.
Yeah,
New school.
You are old school. Yeah, I love the old wallet here. All right, does Trey Lance, Sam Darnold, or Brock Purdy carry a wallet? What do you know about that, David?
Well, right now Trey Lance's wallet's bigger than Brock Purdy's. That's for sure because he's the number 3 overall pick. So Brock Purdy, what's remarkable is that the 49ers, they're going to have their starting quarterback at like a $800,000 cap hit this year.
That's incredible.
Which is a way to, and here's the thing about Trey. We'll just get out there because I'm sure you guys are going to ask me a lot about this, but it's been a really tough couple of years for him injury-wise. This was a raw prospect who the 49ers drafted, needing to develop. We knew that the whole time. Broke his finger in 2021. That ruined the season of development. Broke his ankle in 2022. That ruined his season of development. And if the 49ers, because of the massive investment they made in Trey Lance, go through draft capital, and also because he's number 3 overall pick, they had to pay him a lot because he bought it for a lot of money. If both of those blows had happened and Brock Purdy hadn't showed up, the 49ers would be in huge trouble. So the fact that Brock Purdy showed up in the 7th round, 262, at such an affordable contract because the 49ers don't have a lot of money after all this spending, is really a saving grace for the 49ers at this point.
No doubt. Hey, real quick, let me jump in here, Shasky. I've been probably one of the biggest Trey Lance fans out here since he's been drafted. I wanted him drafted out of North Dakota State, number 3 overall. I really liked his game. I thought he could translate well in his offense. Sunday, I got to say, David, I was thoroughly disappointed. For a guy to know that he's going to start a preseason game, knowing that, hey, I'm battling for the quarterback job. There's a lot of noise around me. And to look that hesitant, that indecisive, that slow and stiff. Now, you can blame it on Russ, and I'm here for that. You want to say Russ? I'm okay, fine. But I just didn't see it. I was very disappointed with what I saw from Trey Lance on Sunday. And that's just a football thing. I'm not even going to get into everything else. The football, quarterbacking, I was disappointed in Trey Lance. What did you take out of that performance on Sunday against the Raiders?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't good. I don't think there's a way to sugarcoat it. You can talk about why it happened, and I think go back to what I just said. He's, in all effects, he's at the spot that he was at when he first joined the 49ers, and maybe he has even progressed a little bit since then because he's been sitting around and not playing due to injuries for 2 years, right? The amount of snaps that Trey Lance has taken in his entire football career from his freshman year of high school to freshman year of college to now, his 3rd year in the NFL, he's thrown fewer passes than Tom Brady did in his age 45 season in the NFL. So the fact that that number is still smaller than Brady's age 45 number, even though he's in year 3, means that the 49ers just haven't been able to develop him at all, really, because it was going to take reps with a guy who was so mechanically raw. They haven't been able to develop it at all since 2021. So, yeah, I mean, it wasn't pretty on Sunday. And I do think, again, we've been at practice every single day. The accuracy has been better It hasn't been perfect by any stretch. I was talking a lot this camp about the short throws that he's been missing, and that actually carried over into the game. But I think once the live game situation started, we definitely saw the lack of playing time for Lance here over the past couple of years, or in his life in general, because he just was not decisive. He needed to be more decisive. You have to be in Kyle Shanahan's system. So because everything seemed to be moving too quickly for him, and maybe he will slow down on Saturday, because again, remember, he hasn't gotten a stretch of consistent play in yet in his NFL career. So maybe stuff will slow down for him if he could string together a couple preseason games. But because he wasn't decisive, he didn't even get a chance to show off his better accuracy, right? You have to hit that open read, and if it's the first read, it has to be the first read in Kyle Shanahan's system. Otherwise, everything breaks down, and all the mechanical improvement that you've been working on is out the window. So, for Trey's sake, I hope that on Saturday he's able to showcase some of that work that he put in just by being more decisive out there.
Before I ask the Brock Purdy questions, just a percentage chance that he's not on this roster. What would you put it at today? Trey Lance.
Trey Lance?
Yeah.
10%. I think the issue right now is that we know what the 49ers want in the quarterback room. They want a robust QB room to insulate themselves against what happened last year. Gotcha. And Trey Lance doesn't have much trade value right now. The 49ers might have to, at this point, because he's got a fully guaranteed contract. This goes back to me talking about him being a number 3 overall pick. If you just cut Trey Lance, you would have to pay more than if you kept him. So that's out of the question. You'd have to ship away the contract. At this point, after all these injuries, what is there a team that would be willing to take on that contract and send the 49ers a draft pick to trade for that contract? I'm not sure about that. 49ers might have to ship away draft capital alongside Trey Lance to get somebody to take on that kind of money. So if that's the cost for the 49ers, and you look at what they want in the quarterback room, and that's nice insulation behind Brock Purdy, then it makes a lot more sense to keep him. Okay. Plus, I think everybody knows the situation here. He just needs more time to develop. Yeah. And, unfortunately, you can't give him those game reps. Yeah. But you can develop them on the scout team and do that kind of stuff behind the scenes and keep yourself insulated, because last year was a disaster when they lost all their quarterbacks. All
right, so let's get to Brock Purdy, because it feels like a lifetime ago since the last time fans have seen Brock Purdy. Most fans are not at practice. Most fans are just reading things that they see from you written in The Athletic, or that you're tweeting, or they're watching your YouTubes or whatever. Tell us what Brock Purdy looks like right now. What are you seeing are some of his strengths? What are some of the weaknesses right now? What can we expect if we do get an opportunity to see him? Because I feel like so much time has passed, we've almost forgotten how great he was last year.
Yeah, so, Purdy, it's interesting because it's the question of practice versus the game. And last year, Purdy didn't get all too many practice reps at all. He was the third quarterback for the 49ers there behind Lance and Sudfeld, but he made the most out of his practice reps against the third team, and he always went where Kyle Shanahan wanted him to go with the football. I think he's still doing that this year. There's been some talk about the interceptions, but Kyle Kyle's got one quarterback to try stuff in camp, and I don't think a lack of accuracy has been an issue for Brock Purdy. If the accuracy is off, and then you're worried. But if he's working through his progressions, running the offense like Kyle wants, I think Kyle wants somebody who's going to robotically go through the reads. He's going to play point guard. Then I think that you're happy. And I think that Purdy's experimenting the way that Kyle Shanahan wants him to. The 49ers seem really, really comfortable with the type of camp that he's having. When the live action starts for Brock Purdy, I'm not sure if he's going to play this weekend. If he does, it'll probably only be a couple series. But when that happens, we'll see if there's any residual rust in the context of an actual game, because obviously in practice you can't get hit. And the last time we saw Brock Purdy in a situation where he could get hit, he tore his elbow. So That's the next hurdle that he has to get over. And I think that maybe the 49ers do play him on Saturday, or at least the following week, to make sure that he does clear that before the September 10th opener at Pittsburgh.
David Lombardi here on the Morning Rush on 95.7 The Game. You know him from covering the 49ers for The Athletic. Does a tremendous job doing so. look, we've been so hyper-focused on the quarterback spot all throughout training camp. I think one underrated position that we don't talk about enough is the nickel corner spot. They lost K.Y. Williams before last season to the Denver Broncos. You lose Jimmy Ward, who played the nickel very well last season. And now it's a competition or a battle between whether it's Isaiah Oliver, Sammy Womack III, or maybe they slide Tarvarius Ward inside to play the nickel, or Diablo Lenore. We'll tilt with the nickelback spot because I think it's one of the more important positions in today's NFL with all the three wide receiver sets and all the spread offenses here, David. What's going on with the nickelback spot?
It is really important, and it's also a way that smart teams get ahead of the game because nickelbacks are still relatively underpaid compared to outside corners. But some of the best receivers in all of football, especially in the NFC West, Cooper Kupp line up in the slot. So you can get big-time bang for your buck if you could find a nickelback that can contain some of these receivers because he's not making as much as an outside corner, but his coverage duties are equal, if not harder, to an outside cornerback if you're playing the Rams, for example. So anyway, Isaiah Oliver, the 49ers veteran who they signed, they gave him about $4 million guaranteed, but I don't think they've been really happy with him in coverage. And it's a catch-22 because they signed him because he's a bigger body. K'Wan Williams, who was the first nickelback of this regime, was 5'9", 185, so he's shifty, right? He was that little shutterbug working against those quicker slot receivers. But the problem is that some of the league has started to do what the 49ers are doing offensively. They're starting to run the football a little bit more. They're starting to use the big slot, the tight end a little bit more. And those really small nickels in the base situations can get washed out.
Right.
The 49ers went and got Isaiah Oliver, who's 6'1", 205, 210. But then you lose out on the coverage end. And you saw him give up the touchdown to Keelan Cole against the Raiders. And I think that Steve Wilkes is a great defensive mind. He throws a lot of exotic coverages, mixes packages. I think he sees an opportunity to maybe even run double nickel for the 49ers, which means different nickel backs depending on different situations. If you watch the tape from Atlanta, Isaiah Oliver was more of a glorified linebacker.
Right.
And he played that run support spot well. Maybe they play him in the big nickel base situations, and then you see who your best three cornerbacks are for the actual nickel situation. And with Ambry Thomas's resurgence, it might be that you have Lenore and Tarvarius Ward as your quarterbacks 1 and 2, but in nickel, Lenore can move inside, where he actually started week 1 last year,
right,
and Ambry Thomas can play on the outside. So these are options for the 49ers, and I wouldn't be surprised if they flex their options to the max.
Well, what are we not talking about right now that we should be talking about or will be talking about like a month into the season when it comes to this team? Is there a weakness, a strength, a player? What's something that you're seeing at practice that maybe you think is being underspoken about?
Well, I think the offensive line is always underspoken about. I think people are finally starting to talk a little bit more about it because it definitely was a component of Trey Lance's struggles on Sunday. The 49, this is a problem around the whole league, right? Their offensive line play has been outpaced by the proliferation of athleticism along the defensive line. So O-lines everywhere are struggling to block these monsters on the edge, and also your Aaron Donald and Javon Hargrave times on the inside. That being said, if you want to be a true Super Bowl contender, you have to be one of the teams that finds at least 7 quality offensive linemen. I stand by that every year. That's my thing. I mean, we saw Mahomes just get worked in the Super Bowl when he didn't have the offensive linemen against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Then they went out and invested in O-line, and then they won the Super Bowl, right? So when I look at the 49ers right now, I think they've got 5 quality starters. I really do. I do think Colton McKivitz will be fine for them this year. But I'm very much questioning how deep the depth goes beyond that. John Feliciano, probably a nice piece that you could say 6 locks to make the 53. But who's going to be number 7? And I think probably you need number 8 at a quality lineman, given this team's injury history. They played 20 games in each of the past 2 seasons. And if you don't have 8 competent O-linemen, you're probably like most of the other teams in the NFL, but most of the other teams in the NFL can't win a Super Bowl. So to win a Super Bowl, you have to be that exceptional team like Kansas City was last year that had that strong O-line core. I mean, Philly had it too. It was the 2 best O-lines in the league playing in the Super Bowl, right? So I'm just a month in, I think we're going to be saying either this 49ers depth is surprising us on the offensive line and they're doing well and they look like real contenders, or this 49ers O-line depth is a problem. We're going to be saying one of those 2 things a month in. And that might be the biggest bellwether to whether or not this team can win at all.
All right, one word, David. You concerned about Nick Bosa yet? Yes or no?
No, I mean, deadlines are deadlines, and then we know that this deadline is kind of it's a moving deadline, if you will. And I think the hard deadline is week one. And if something is not happening by Tuesday or Wednesday of week one, that's when you can start sounding the alarm. But at this point, if he didn't report at the very start of camp, what's going to cause him to report right now? I think that the deadline that we're truly working with is week one with Nick Bosa.
What do you think the holdup is then? What are we waiting for?
I think the holdup is that Bosa's side, and both sides are playing hardball with its staring contest like a game of chicken. But the problem is when you're playing a game of chicken and then both cars are coming toward each other, you don't swerve until you're about to hit another car, right?
Over a couple of $1 million, they're not $20 million apart, right? In terms of guarantees,
it's not. I don't know if it's a couple million, because over the lifetime of the deal, we could be talking more like 10 or 15 million. But the issue is, even if it were a couple million, it's significant because the 49ers are really, really, really crammed up against the salary cap. They have a lot of star players, and here's the thing: Bosa. If this were the standard edge rusher deal, I think it'd already be done, because T.J. Watt signed his a couple years ago. It would just be Bosa for $29 million or something like that. But when Aaron Donald signed his contract and broke the market as a defensive tackle at $31.7 million, which is nearly $3 million above annually, where everybody on the defensive line is, when that happened and then Bosa won Defensive Player of the Year, that gives them the right to go and say, I want to be paid like Aaron Donald. Yep. And I think that couple million, extrapolate that over 5 years, with the 49ers so up against the cap, they're way over it already in 2024. They have to find ways to cut. They really want to play hardball here and make sure they can keep this roster sustainable, because if you give Nick Bosa a record contract, but you're not careful in how it's structured and you don't squeeze the best value out of it, you're going to lose a lot of players on the back end, and then it doesn't matter if you got Nick Bosa re-signed, because your team's going to get weaker on the other end. So I think that it's in their interest to play hardball. I think it's in Bosa's interest to play hardball. I think it really just is business. It comes down to that, and I think that game of chicken that it's going to come to roost, in week one, and then that's when somebody's going to have to swerve a little bit. They're probably going to both swerve a little bit and come to a deal at that point.
No doubt. David, man, really, really good insight there on the 49ers. We'll talk to you soon, brother. I know you're getting ready for practice here. We'll see you Saturday at Levi's when the Niners take on the Broncos.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks, Dave.